Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our mentorship panel workshop with NHSBA and the United States Collegiate Athletic Association. I'm Deontay Copeland, Executive Director of the National High School Basketball Association. Welcome to our workshop. We're going to be talking with some of the coaches at USCAA about recruiting for college. We're on social media with NHSBA. You can check out our pages for Facebook, the National High School Basketball Association, Twitter, the NHSBA, YouTube, the NHSBA, and also for our Instagram page, which is also NHSBA National. I'm going to hand it over to the COO of United States Collegiate Association, Ms. BJ Burgess, and she will take it from there.
Thanks so much, Deontay. I appreciate you having us on this evening. Tonight, I'm joined by several of our basketball coaches. First, I'd like to introduce Matt Richards from Southern Maine Community College. We're also joined by Tim Moore of Penn State Beaver and Lori Khalil of Penn State Lehigh Valley. Tonight, we just want to have a guided discussion and talk to you about the expectations of collegiate coaches, not only from a recruiting standpoint, but what they look for academically and things that you can do as a student athlete to set yourself up for success in the long run. So without further ado, we'll just go ahead and kick things off. Matt, I want to start with you. What is it that you like about coaching collegiate basketball?
Yeah, thanks, BJ. And Deontay, thank you to your organization for giving us an opportunity to chat with folks. So, college coaching for me, probably has maybe a different meaning than maybe what one would expect. And I've been doing this now for 27 years. And for me, what I like about college coaching is that it really allows me the opportunity to make impacts on young people's lives. And I have found that to be so valuable for me, for my own wellness as a person in this world. But, I think I had great mentors as a college basketball player, and I feel like it's my ability to give back to those that gave to me. And so I've been very fortunate, and that's what drives me about coaching. The other thing I think is really key is that I view coaching basketball as simply as an extension to really teach athletes life skills to be successful, whether it's be a successful business owner, husband, wife, father, spouse, brother, sister, whatever, and I think basketball is our tool, but the skills that we teach in basketball are totally applicable to all of those things that are going to make them more successful in life. And that's what drives me for coaching. And then the third part for me is just about building relationships. And I've been very fortunate that I've had a lot of alumni that I've been able to keep in touch with. I'm actually marrying two this summer to one of my players and one of our women's basketball players. And, that's stuff that you can't, there is no price tag to that. And so, for me, that's what college coaching really means.
Yeah. And I think a lot of us share that sentiment. Tim, why don't you talk a little bit about what coaching means for you?
Man, I can kind of go along the same lines. Just developing those relationships with players, families in general. And if you do it the right way, I think you have that, like Matt said, you have that everlasting relationship. He gets to marry a couple. I actually, next weekend, have the chance of going out of town. And it's a girl that I recruited, but she never even played for me. But we just developed such a great friendship with her and her family. I'll be attending her wedding next weekend. So, outside of those relationships, though, it's, watching them graduate, seeing kids come in. And I think that's the most important thing for me is, just bringing in girls from all walks of life and, watching them bond and, just seeing them graduate. That's probably one of the most fulfilling things for me.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, certainly the relationship building is kind of the cornerstone of what we do as coaches. Lori, can you talk a little bit about what encouraged you or who encouraged you to get into the sports industry and coaching?
Right. Well, thank you guys so much for having us. I know Matt and Tim are amazing coaches in USCAA, so I feel honored to be here. Thank you for asking me. To get into coaching, I mean, sports has been part of my life since I was in the 3rd grade, going to the YMCA. I have an older brother who played sports and always going to his games. And it's just like, I feel like part of who I was growing up. So it was kind of like an easier transition, because when you're in it and you grew up with it, you kind of understand. You know, like Tim and Matt said, it's so much more than the actual sport. I mean, you learn so many life lessons playing your sport, and I feel like it's just nobody understands it unless they're in it. I mean, it's the best classroom there is. So I think, you know, it's been part of my DNA for majority of my life. So I'm only 20 years old, so it's only been, you know, part of my life for like good thing for the Zoom filter, it makes me look a little younger. So
absolutely. That and a good skincare regimen keeps us
they're
looking
always Dove's amazing.
So I'd like to shift a little bit and get a little bit more student athlete focused. Tim, when you're out, you know, on the high school circuit or looking at JO basketball and AAU basketball, what are some of the things you look for in your student athletes?
You know, one of the most important things, and, you know, it's not even what they're doing, you know, offense, defensively. You know, first and foremost is their character, their attitude, their body language. You know, that I think that's very, very important. You know, they can be the best offensive, defensive player out there on the floor, but if they have a bad attitude or poor body language, you know, they're just not the right character. You know, that kind of turns us off as coaches, because, you know, as coaches, when we bring in, you know, players, we want them to buy into what we're doing. We want to have that family atmosphere, and, you know, it's not about an individual. So, you know, if that's a red flag for me, you know, if I see, you know, just poor character or poor body language, to me, that just tells me that player might be more about themselves than they are the team. And, you know, that, like I said, is just a red flag, because, you know, I know at Penn State Beaver, we've developed a great reputation of, you know, of building family with our players, with our alumni, everything. So, you know, we want to keep it that way. And, you know, we won't bring in a girl just because she's good. Like, if she doesn't have that character, again, the attitude, the body language, you know, we're going to stay away. You know, outside of that, the academics, you know, I think that's very, very important. You know, we bring in, you know, girls that we have to babysit in the classroom as either. You know, we expect our girls to come in, get it done in the classroom. You know, here at Penn State Beaver, our program is kind of the model program for campus. And our team GPA last year was a 3.47, and, you know, we expect them to get it done on their own. We don't do team study halls. You know, it's kind of hey, you know, we brought you in here, this is what we expect, you get it done, or, you know, there's consequences. And then, you know, the last part of it is if they fit our style of play. You know, that's pretty much the last thing we look at. You know, the way we play is kind of unique. So, you know, we look for a certain type and certain style of player, and, you know, that's what we focus on too, so that we can continue to play the style that we do.
Thanks, Tim. Lori, do you have anything that you'd like to add on what you look for when recruiting?
Yeah, I think, you know, what Tim said too, because I feel like we play a similar style. So, you know, but you know, the last part is the ability, but it's all the stuff prior. And I think a player needs to be driven. You know, if you have to babysit college, when you come to college, it's not a hobby anymore. It's something that, because the grind is real, you know, like you'll get home 6 days a week, the demands of class, and, you know, you'll get home late from a game, and then next day you got to turn around and do it all over again. So like it's not a hobby, and you have to be a really driven person to do that.
Thanks, Lori. You know, we've sort of touched on the academic piece, and Matt, I want to get your opinion on what it takes for students to be successful in college, both on and off the court. You know, given that you have a unique perspective as both a coach and an athletic director.
Yeah, you know, and it's interesting that you talk about that, because to me, the success piece, it can be defined in a bunch of different ways. And as I talk to kids and families, I'll get asked like, I want to be successful on the court. Great. Then you're one of two people. You're either an energy sucker or you're a chemistry creator. There's no in between. You're one or the other, right? You're a chemistry creator. You care about the team's success over your personal accolades. You're waking up and doing something to benefit your teammate. You're applauding a teammate's success. Okay. Those things are chemistry creators. That makes you successful on the court. Energy sucker. Well, we lost by 15, but I got my 20. I need 38 minutes a game. I'm not going to class today. Right? Like, energy sucker. You're not going to be successful on the court. So conversely, those skills, right, play off the court. Because again, for us, when we talk to families, if you're a chemistry creator off the court, you're going to make all the right decisions. When you wake up in the morning and say, what do I need to do to impact my team today? It might mean get my buddy up and make sure they get to class. It might mean you're struggling on that paper, so let's get together at study hall and I'll help you write it. Okay. So, that stuff's important. And then that becomes first impressions in life, right? If you're an energy sucker on the court and you want to be a great employee, they don't match up. So I think they align with each other, and you want to be successful off the court. You got to do things on the court the right way. Conversely, you want to be successful on the court, your off the court actions. You're making a first impression on people. What do you want it to be? So those are really key factors, I think, that kids and families need to understand. This isn't high school basketball anymore. And just being the better player isn't always going to be what makes you successful.
Yeah, absolutely, Matt. I couldn't agree more. Lori, along those same lines, what advice would you give to any of our student athletes here tonight who want to be recruited by college coaches? What can they do to, sort of get their resume to the top of the pile?
Right. Recruiting it's a very overwhelming process. And I feel like, for a lot of families, sometimes it's their first kid going through, and they're like, oh my God, it's overwhelming because they don't know where to start. And I think the first thing is, number one, you need to market yourself. When we go out to these AAU tournaments, there's 300-400 teams at a tournament. There's no way we're just going in blind. So I think the first thing is to market yourself, and put yourself out there. And going to like College Boards has a really good search engine where you can go in. You have to, the school has to be a fit for you. And like Tim said, the program, as coaches are looking for a fit, the student athlete, it has to fit them too. So like the campus, the style of play, the coaching style, majors, location. All those things have to fit. So if you go to the College Board, they have a search engine. They can go in there. Do you want to be, an hour away from home? Do you want a small campus, large campus, majors, sport teams? And I think from there, once you you're like, all right, I got a list of 10 schools that fit where I want to be. Then you need to make a spreadsheet of all the college coaches' names and emails. Then you need to make your player profile short, to the point, with some clips that are not super, super crazy, like 10-minute long. It's got to be short. And then send it to those college coaches and keep doing that. Like every 2 weeks, just keep sending emails. And I think that's the best way to get yourself out there. You got to market yourself nowadays.
Hey, BJ, I'd love to piggyback on Lori's comments, because she's spot on. And I think when kids market themselves, and this is just personal preference for me, but we as coaches are going to get a lot of emails. So make sure you personalize it a little bit for us, right? Like, tell me where we are. Tell me a little bit about our team. Tell me my name. right? Like I love the blanket dear coach, and then everything about how great the kid is. I have no idea if they're a fit for us. And so I think that's important. Like, personalize a little bit. Like, let me dive into your email to read it because you're talking about us, right? And then the other one, and I don't know what Tim and Lori feel about this one, but the highlight reels, great. Like, first impression, super. I'm not sure why or how we got to this stage of having to set it to music that is just laced with profanities. I'm not sure when that became a thing, but I can tell you it is the absolute delete button for me. Look, I'm an associate dean of students as well. I don't want kids on my campus that are representing themselves with, I'm going to put on this music on my display of my talents. And it is just laced with profanities left and right and sexist comments and all that stuff. That's a huge turnoff. And I don't think kids understand that that's important. Like, don't shut a door because of this cool song that you think is great that's going to help your visual cause. Don't do it. Like, get an instrumental or don't have any music. That's cool too.
Some AC/DC on the background, right, Matt?
Really?
Bon Jovi, something, right?
Yeah, little something.
So along those same lines, and it just kind of gets me thinking, not just about being recruited as a student athlete, but as you have athletes who prepare to move on into the workforce, talk a little bit about the importance of the content of their social media, and how much does that play into the time that you spend recruiting them.
Well, I'll answer this not from recruiting, but just so I have a brother-in-law that has a really good job with Major League Baseball. Like, it's really good. And if you apply, they have a staff that immediately does social media profile stalking on you. And you might be an unbelievable executive for this position. And if your social media profile comes back with even question marks, you're out of it. You're not even considered. So if, as coaches, if we're trying to teach our kids the next level to be successful, it applies in the same way with recruiting, right? Like, I'm not going to recruit someone who has done X, Y, Z and posted all over social media or is, said all this stuff. Like, look, you have your own opinions. That's wonderful. But again, first impression, what do you want it to be? And you only get one opportunity to do that. So make sure it's a good one.
Yeah, absolutely. And, early on in my career, I spent a lot of time working with Tim at the same campus. And I know for us at that institution, we always kind of harped on our student athletes and said, what they posted on social media was an extension of what they would have said. If you said it on social media, it's essentially as if you've said it to our faces. And so, don't post something on social media that you wouldn't say to your coach or to an administrator. And I think that's something that's really important as student athletes prepare to move on to the next level. So since we're talking about, small colleges and universities specifically, Tim, why don't you talk about some of the pros and cons of coaching and being a student athlete at a small campus?
Some of the cons might be that, how you look at it, if a small campus, you're always in the spotlight, more or less. There's really nowhere you're going to go and you're going to hide. If you don't want people knowing what you're doing, if you don't want people in your business, a small campus probably isn't for you. But, I'm going to piggy that back with kind of, Matt and Lori, that, if you're doing things that people don't want you don't want them to know what they're doing, they're probably not the things that you should be doing anyway. You probably need to change what you're doing. So, I think that can be a con. Another one might be, majors. Smaller campuses, oftentimes only have a limited number of majors. So that's going back to, I think what Lori said, and, finding the right fit. Piggybacking off Matt with that, we get emails, I'm really interested in your elementary program. I see it's a fantastic we don't have elementary education, do your research. It's, that can be a problem too. We want girls, we see girls, oh man, she looks good. Look at her major, she wants nursing. Well, that's not going to work for us. So, that goes into the student athletes too. You might find a school that you really like, that you really feel at home at, but, if they don't have your major, that could be a problem. On the athlete side, funding can come into effect sometimes, money, there are some times, unfortunately, that people just do need scholarships to get them through school. Sometimes at small schools, there might not be that additional funding to help that student. So again, it might not be the right fit. But, pros of a small school are, for one, and the reason I came back to Penn State Beaver. I was there for 9 years. I left for 2 and I came back. Is just the family atmosphere. A small school, everybody can be, if you find the right fit, everybody can be so supportive. From admissions to, the other coaches, to the athletic directors. Everybody there. To their professors. Professors come to the basketball games. They support one another. Everybody wants to see each other succeed. And I think that's one of the biggest pros, of a small school, is that you just have that support, whether it's on the court, whether it's in the classroom, whether it's personally, you just have that support constantly. Some of the other pros, probably a lot less pressure too. That's one of the other things that I wanted to talk about. Sometimes when you go to bigger schools, there's a lot more pressure on you to be successful and, hey, what are you doing? At a small school, it can be a lot more relaxed of an atmosphere. You come in, you go through your daily grind and, again, you make the friends and you just have a good time. And, that's the one thing, especially in our program that we really, talk to recruits about, and, even our players is, we want you to enjoy your social experience. A lot of times, you go to a bigger level and you're on scholarship, they're going to kind of pretty much own your day. They're going to tell you what you do from the time you wake up to the time you go to sleep. And, a lot of smaller schools, it's really not like that. There are some that are, but, I know us, we tell them, if you respect our time, we'll respect your time. And, it works out well that way. We let our girls enjoy their social experience. And, I think that's one of the other big benefits of the small school.
Yeah, thanks, Tim. And one thing, Lori, I'd like to get your perspective. Both you and Tim are part of, even though you're small campuses, you're part of the Penn State system, which, obviously goes without saying. It's, a large university. It's very well known. What are some of the advantages being tied to a larger university system?
Oh, this network, it's untouchable. It's the largest higher education network in the country, probably in the world. There's nobody has not heard of Penn State. There's, when I coached in Spain and Portugal this past summer, there's a guy that he said he's heard of Penn State University. I was like, wow. It's a world known institution. But with our Commonwealth campuses, right there, it's a small, like University Park is 40,000 students that go there. It's insane. But with our small campuses, you're getting like Tim said, the faculty and the staff that support our student athletes. The smaller classroom sizes, 18-to-1 student to faculty ratio, like you get to build those relationships that will then help you once you graduate. And I feel like, it's a great set. You're getting the best degree for affordable. It's an affordable degree. You're not spending, the goal is to leave college with at least that as possible. And, Penn State it's like a return on investment, what you're paying for and what you're getting. It's an amazing degree.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, Lori. And Matt, from your perspective, being part of the Maine community college system, why don't you talk about some of the benefits that come not only from being, part of the Maine system, but also the advantages of, beginning your career or completing your career even at a community college?
Yeah, especially the community colleges in the Northeast, we're kind of unique in that, we certainly are designed for the students to come in at a very low cost. I mean, we're the lowest tuition in Maine here. We're the lowest tuition in New England for your tuition bill. And we are set up so that you can take your early classes, build your 2-year profile and move on and leave almost debt free. But we also, especially in the Northeast, a lot of our community colleges also have advanced degree in a lot of trade and health science programs. So for example, like architectural engineering, electrical engineering, we have like in our health sciences, we have radiography. I mean, right now, like our kids are graduating and getting $8,000 to $10,000 signing bonuses with hospitals. And then their job starts out at 80 grand. Like, so we're very unique in that way. But again, I think the advantage of what you're talking about is, you can utilize this and either this be your entire collegiate and academic career because you're going in one of those professional trade programs or health sciences, or you don't want to spend a lot of money trying to figure out what you want to study. And so you come and you do a lot of your core stuff in liberal studies and then plateau that to the next level, whatever that might be. So it's kind of got really 2 advantages to it.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. And, I think the big takeaway, looking at the whole thing, big picture, if you're a student athlete who's preparing to go on to college, you're not pigeonholed into these large universities and large programs that, you become a number. There's so many options out there with our small colleges and universities. As you can see, and this is just, 3 of, more than 70 coaches in our association. And you can already see the options, whether it be, a small campus looking to finish out with a trade. You want to continue on and get, that big name degree, such as the Penn State University degree. You've got all of those options. And I know these guys have said it multiple times so far, it's find the best fit for you. And when I was coaching, I shared exactly the same sentiment. It has to be just as good a fit for you as the student athlete as it does for us as the coaches. And so now looking at, these student athletes, they're on your campus, they're working toward completing their degree, and they say, hey, I think I may want to get into coaching. Lori, what would be your advice to a young student athlete who thinks they may want to get into coaching as a career?
I'd be like, you feeling all right? I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. No, this is probably one of this is a professional love, right? Like you gotta love your players. You gotta love the grind. You gotta love like everything about it. It's a job where anybody can critique you, right? The gym, they walk into a gym, and anybody in the stands could critique what you do. And I feel like you have to have tough skin, number one, if you want to get into this. You're always, as a coach, constantly reflecting and readjusting. It's an everyday thing. Like, how can you make this better? So I feel like it's also like a mindset of, all right, like you were doing it one way, how can you do it better in another way? Or if it's not working, how can you readjust it? But if somebody wants to get, I feel like when I started, because I was 24 when I became a head coach, I feel like the best thing where I met a lot of people was in the summertime, I worked camps. Like I worked UConn's camp, I worked University of Maryland, Hoop Group, Siena College. I was just everywhere. Some of the D3s in Lehigh Valley, just going out and meeting different people. And I think that really, and seeing how different people interact and do things. And I also coached AAU as well as when I was coaching college at the same time. And I feel like that was really beneficial. So if those are the 2 things I would recommend for anybody that's getting into coaching is work camps over the summer, meet a lot of people, see how people do things, and help out in AU somehow, some way. And just figure out your philosophy. Because it worked for Tim Moore or Matt Richards, it may not work for you. You know, you got to figure out like your style, and you can't fake it, you know. I couldn't run a slow down system. It's just not my person. It's not who I am. And I feel like you have to run things that you feel comfortable teaching and that you believe in. I think those are the biggest things.
Yeah. Matt, Tim, anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, I'll basically describe this, and I know Tim and Lori are going to shake their heads. Coaching is not a profession. Coaching is a lifestyle. And if you don't look at it that way, you're never going to be successful. You're working when others are playing. You know, you're working when everyone else is, like Lori said, sitting in the stands critiquing you. It's not a job. It's a lifestyle. And you have to embrace that. You have to say, this is who I'm going to be, right? If I'm going to coach, then all of it, right? Thick skin, late nights, long hours on buses, listening to people yell at you, like, you know, but the lifestyle also gives you great rewards. You know, we've already talked about some of those things. So I try, I'm like Lori, the first person that says to me, hell, I'd love to get into coaching. I'm like, what are you, crazy? But then I say, if you're crazy enough to make it your lifestyle, then it's not a job, and you don't go to work at any day of the week because it's your lifestyle.
Yeah, I'll definitely agree with that. You know, if you say you're getting into coaching because of money, then just stop right now. Because when you look at it, the time you put in and everything, I mean, it comes out to pennies, you know, pennies on the hour, you know. So it is the lifestyle. You know, back on what Lori said, I think networking is huge, you know, getting out and, you know, just meeting new people and, you know, get involved in camps, getting your name out there. The last one kind of hinted on it. You know, I think you definitely have to stay true to yourself. You can't worry. You know, they talked about the fans critiquing you, and you can't worry about anything. You know, you have to stay true to yourself. You have to stay true to who you are, and you have to believe in yourself. You know, if you second guess yourself, even if you do second guess yourself at times, you got to do it behind closed doors. And that goes back to, you know, what Lori was saying, is just always constantly getting better and, you know, reflecting and things like that. Because, you know, as soon as somebody sees a weakness in you, you know, whether it's a parent, whether it's a player, you know, they're going to take advantage of that. And that's going to go to my last point, is I just think is that you have to be disciplined, you know, from on the floor coaching with your practice plan, to, you know, the way you treat your players. You know, it's the same way. You give them an inch, you know, they're going to take them out. And, you know, we've had a couple of different things, you know, in the past, and just the other day where, you know, I had a girl who, hey, we're leaving at 4:30, and 4:33 we pulled out, and she pulled onto campus. I waved to her as we went by. We did not stop for her. You know, she was my starting point guard, but she has to learn a lesson that, hey, you know, the program is bigger than you are. And, you know, in life, you can't be late for things. You know, it's more than basketball. You know, she has to learn life lessons. So, you know, don't think, well, she's a starter, or, you know, this is one of my better players, I need them for this game. You know, you have to stay true to yourself. You have to stay true to the program and be disciplined in what you do every single day.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, as we're getting ready to come to a close here, as we head into the Q&A portion, I'm anxious to hear from each of you. And Matt, we'll start with you, your most memorable experience in your coaching career.
In my coaching career, you know, I've had a lot of them. The one that sticks out the most was just recently. It was right before COVID, and you know, we were playing here at home, and I had a young man who, you know, had just had kind of a up and down year, and we were down all game long, and he had lost his confidence, right? Like, but the relationship piece was what saved him. And I said, I have all the confidence in the world in you. Don't worry, we're going to pull this thing out. And, we're down 2 with 11 seconds. Shouldn't even be in the game at this point. We played terrible. And, he hits the game winner to send us to the conference championship. And I remember him saying to me, Coach, I never would have made that shot if you didn't tell me earlier in the game that you trusted me. Right. So that goes back to relationships, and that's a very memorable moment for me, for making sure a kid knew I believed in him, and then he saw the success after the fact. So
that's really awesome. Tim?
I'm looking at it, and Lori knows of our success that we've had. 8 conference championships, 2 national championships, which a lot of coaches don't get to say that they won. But outside of that, for me was my first recruiting class, watching them graduate. We had some girls. I went into an area of Pittsburgh where pretty much no coaches went into, and we brought in girls from inner city who didn't have the best grades. Again, no other coaches were looking at them, but we took a chance on them. And through those 4 years, 5 for a couple of them, but through that time that they were here, just watching them grow as girls into young women, and watching them graduate was probably my most memorable moment, because a lot of other places they probably would have failed. But again, going back to that small school where they had all that support, everybody was looking out for them. They were able to graduate, and I think 3 of them, they were the first in their families to graduate college. So that was something I'll never forget.
Yeah, Lori, we'll round off the question with you.
All right. Well, I'm going to piggyback off of Matt and Tim said. It's more like the wins are great, right? Feels good, all that. But it's like seeing a kid where they start and then when they finish, and then they thank you later. They're like, "Thank you for being tough on me because I needed it." And I think that's that's the most rewarding. You're like, all right. You're like, well, I'm impacting something, so it feels good, and it's definitely a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So now we'll head into the Q&A portion. We have a few options. For those who are in attendance tonight, feel free to use the Q&A tool there at the bottom of your screen or wherever you have your toolbar placed. If you'd like to speak directly to our coaches, you can use the raise your hand features, and we can bring you in live, and you can speak directly to our coaches. So while you prepare your questions, I do want to point out that we recently just announced our very own recruiting portal. So if you're in attendance tonight or you're watching this recording at a later date and you're interested in being recruited by any of the coaches at the USCAA, not just those who have joined us here tonight, I would encourage you to visit, the USCAA.com. If you scroll about halfway down our page, there's a huge link that says recruit me. And like our coaches talked about, build that profile. It's a great first step to getting yourself noticed. It allows them to see not only, your personal information, contact information, your academics, but it provides you an opportunity to talk about you. And, essentially it is a resume. Not only just your accolades, but what do you do outside of basketball? What is it that makes you who you are, so that they know if the campus and the majors and their style of play are going to be a good fit for you. So I would definitely encourage you, if you are interested in being recruited by one of our small schools, to go ahead and complete that. So I'll leave it open. I don't see any questions just yet, so we'll give it a moment. Coaches, is there anything else that you'd like to add while we wait for some potential questions to come in?
I think there was one question that we had kind of talked about a little bit, BJ, about just the importance of the academic piece, right? And we didn't touch upon it, but I guess I would want to leave the student athletes that are maybe listening in on this. There is a direct correlation to your academic performance, and your basketball careers. And now notice I didn't say successful academic careers. I just said academics. And I've changed my views over the years, because I used to have benchmarks of team GPAs and all this stuff. And what I've evolved to say is, I just need to trust you academically. It's trust. You want to play, you want to be on the court, but I can't trust you that you're going to go to class on time. I don't trust you that you're going to turn in all your work as designed by your faculty members. But yet you want me to trust you on the court with the ball in your hands, or to take the shot, or whatever. And that's the one thing that I would say to our young student athletes is, understand that they are one and the same. So do your best academically, whatever that is, because that will then develop the trust from us as coaches to then put you on the floor. Because that's all we want. Do your best, whatever that is, you know? And so I think that's an important message for young adults to hear.
And
thank you for that.
I think an important thing Matt said there too is, you know, whatever it is, you know, we know everybody's not going to be a 4.0 student or a 3.5 student. You know, there's students who, you know, a 2.5 might be their best they can do it. But if they come in and get that 2.5 or even slightly higher, and they're working really hard, well, like Matt said, we know we can trust you. You know, I've had those experiences where we've gambled on kids with a little bit lower GPAs, and they come in and they don't want to let the team down. You know, we have certain rules within our program. They don't want to let the team down, so they're busting their butts, and busting their butt might get 2.8. But you know what? I'm proud of them for that, because we know what their high school GPA was or whatever. You know, so as long as we know they're working hard and we can trust them, that's great.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, coaches, I'd like to thank you for your time. I don't see any questions coming in, but for anybody who's, you know, attended, or like I said, maybe watching this recording, you can certainly reach out to me or use Deontay to get to me. And we can absolutely get you any answers that you need, you know, as you go through this recruiting process. We know that it's kind of daunting. It can be a little bit terrifying, and there's certainly a lot of questions that come up along the way. But, you know, as an athlete who was recruited just a few years ago, you know, when you find the coach who's willing to answer what you think is a silly question, it's a really good sign. And thankfully, we've been joined by several of those types of coaches tonight. So Deontay, I'll turn it over to you to kind of close things out. I would like to thank you for inviting us to be part of this. It's certainly been awesome, and I look forward to the next series.
Well, definitely. Thank you guys for talking with us today. You guys gave a lot of information. This is something that everybody definitely needs to know. If you're going to play the next level, or you know, play college sports or anything, you definitely know this information. Everything from grades to choosing the right college to, you know, all those things as far as it fits you. I like all the information you guys gave tonight. It's definitely something that kids need to know. I mean, because a lot of kids talk about, I want to play college ball, I want to be able to do this level, but what is it going to take to actually get you there? And these are folks that actually tell you how to get there. So this is information you definitely know if you want to actually go to the next step. And so I thank you guys for take your time to kind of talk with us and kind of let us know that this is what you're looking for if you want to go take the next steps and kind of go into get to that particular industry and maybe play at the next level.
Awesome. Well, again, Deontay, thank you for the opportunity, for allowing myself and some of our coaches to talk to some of your coaches and student athletes. And like I said, we look forward to the next session.
All right. Talk to you guys soon.